Watching your family burned alive is a horrible thing, especially if you witnessed it as a child. Hello Titan fans and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about one of the more mysterious characters in all of Attack on Titan, and also one of my favorite ones. I'm talking of course about Eren Kruger, also known as the Owl, and the better Eren, the superior Eren, and so on and so on. In this video, we will go back in time and try to understand Eren's story better, using actual dates and timelines. I will also reference events that took place inside the walls around those years, so you will get the entire story from both ends, from Paradis Island and also from Marley. To do just that, we will use all the information available to us from the manga, the anime, and from the Attack on Titan wiki. Keep in mind that in order to build the most accurate timeline, I had to make two speculations. The first one: how old was Kruger when he first met Grisha and Faye? For our timeline, we will assume he was around his 20s, so we will say 25. The second assumption is: how old was Kruger when his family died? According to the anime and the manga, you can say he was around the ages of 8 to 10. So for this video, we will say he was 10 at a time. Now that we have this information, we can finally start building our timeline. Before we start, let me just remind you that this is a brand new channel and I would really appreciate your support. So please, consider subscribing and hitting that like button. Eren Kruger was born on the year 792 to Eldian parents which we don't know their names. The closest known event to his birth is Ymir's cult discovered on Liberio and sent to Paradis, which made Ymir spend the next 60 years as a pure titan inside of the walls. Kruger's father was part of the Eldian Revolutionary Army that was led by the remaining Fritz family members that stayed on Marley and did not go to Paradis Island with King Fritz. Unfortunately, the Revolutionary Army was not very effective, and around the year 802, the army members, including Kruger's father, were captured and burned alive by the public security authorities of Marley. Kruger, who was only 10 at the time, managed to avoid being killed by hiding in a closet, but as a result, he had to watch his father and friends burn to death. After that, he was rescued by a friend of the family. Although we don't know who this friend was, we can assume that it was someone who worked with the Fritz family and could even be part of the Asian clan or even the Ackermans, but this is only speculation. After being rescued, Kruger went underground for a few years. Meanwhile, on year 806, Grisha Jaeger is born to Mr. and Mrs. Jaeger in Liberio internment zone. Few years later, on 809, Faye, Grisha's little sister, was born. Going back to Kruger, after he was saved by friends of the family, he stayed with them for a few years. Think about it for a moment. Kruger is just a little kid that was a witness to his parents' death without any power to do something about it. Just like Eren Jaeger, when he witnessed his mother get eaten without being able to save her. And just like Eren Jaeger, also Kruger grew up with burning hate inside of him, and was driven by revenge all of those years. The only difference was that unlike Eren Jaeger, who wished to kill all the titans in the world, Kruger wished to seek revenge against the nation of Marley, and to restore the glory of old Eldia. In the year of 810, Kruger manages to infiltrate the public security authorities, the same people who killed his family 8 years ago, and becomes a spy inside the Marleyan army. In order to do that, he had to go through blood tests, which he managed to pass only with the help of an unknown Eldian doctor, who was able to fake Kruger's blood test just as he had done to himself sometimes earlier. Now, although the identity of that doctor is still unknown, we can safely assume that it was this guy. This guy. Kruger was around the age of 18 when he joined the army. We assume that because 18 is an acceptable age for army drafting, and unlike the Eldian warriors who were trained from childhood, we can assume that Marley did not treat her young ones the same way, and with that in mind, We can imagine that Marley citizen would have the privilege to draft into the army at an older age, and because Kruger was now considered a Marlian, we will assume he was 18 at that time. While in the army, Kruger's job wasn't an easy one. In order to maintain his secret identity and motives, he had to make sure he will never be suspected, and for that, he spent years torturing his fellow Eldians and sending thousands of them to Paradis to spend their lives trapped in a nightmare as pure titans. Well, at least until they ran into this guy. But think about it. Being a spy is not an easy job at all. And while doing that, you must do everything in your power in order to maintain your position, even if it means spending years doing unspeakable acts against your own kind. And that is exactly what Kruger did. And in the following years, you will come across thousands of Eldians, and two in particular, on the year 817. Until then, Kruger will soon start sending information to the Eldian restorationists and refer to himself as the Owl to avoid giving up his true identity. On that day, in the year 817, two kids from the Liberio internment zone decided to go outside the walls in order to watch the airship land. Those two were Grisha Jaeger, which was now 11, and his younger sister Faye, which was only 8. While walking towards the airship, Grisha and his sister are spotted by two Marlian soldiers. Kruger, who was one of those soldiers, recognized the armbands on their hands and asked Grisha why did they went out of the internment zone without permission. After not providing an answer, Kruger tells Grisha that they now must be punished and asks him if he prefers beating or labor. Grisha asks for a beating and also tells Kruger to punish him instead of his sister. Kruger agrees and beats Grisha up, while Gross, the other soldier, takes Faye back home. Kruger then lets Grisha stay for a while to watch the airship, maybe out of kindness, or maybe to make sure Grisha won't end up like his sister. When Grisha returns back home, his sister is not there, and she is only discovered the next day, dead, after being fed to the dogs by Gross, the soldier who took her and his kids. Knowing all that, Grisha had to listen to his father apologizing to the officer who killed his own daughter and promised to teach Grisha the horrible history of the Eldian people. And while Grisha listens to the lies of the Marley officer, Kruger, which is also at the room, sees the burning hate in Grisha's eyes, the same hate that he himself is carrying for all of those years. On year 819, 2 years after catching Grisha and Faye, Kruger inherits the Attack Titan from its previous owner, who is still unknown also in the manga. By inheriting the Attack Titan, Kruger then sets off the 13 years deadline that we call the Curse of Ymir. Kruger is now 27, and he will not meet Grisha until he's around 40, 13 years later. On those years, Kruger will maintain his cover and will keep providing information to the Eldian restorationists while still turning his fellow Eldians into titans while working for Marley. Now let us take a look of some other events that took place between the years of 819 to 832. On Marley, on year 824, Grisha Jaeger, now 18 years old, joins the Eldian restorationists after learning the truth about his sister's death. There, he meets and then marries Dina Fritz, one of the last members of the Fritz bloodline that stayed on Marley. And after receiving propaganda from the Owl, a spy working inside of Marley, they decide to retrieve the founding titan from Paradis and to restore the glory of Eldia. 1 year later, on the first day of August, in the year of 825, Zeke Jaeger is born to Grisha and Dina Jaeger. Meanwhile, in year 825 on Paradis Island and inside Wall Rose, young Erwin Smith asked his father, a schoolteacher, a question about the outside world, a question that will soon get his father killed and also provide young Erwin with the burning desire to prove his father's theory about the corruption of the government inside the walls and about the outside world. 2 years later, on February 827, inside Wall Sina, Frida Reis is born to Rod Reis and his wife. On Marley 829, the previous Beast Titan owner, the one before Zeke, inherits the Beast Titan. We will not mention his name here to avoid spoilers for Season 4. Back on Paradis Island, inside Wall Sina, Uri Reis eats his father and by that inherits the founding Titan and becomes the new monarch of Eldia. On that same year, on the underground city inside Wall Sina, a criminal named Kenny Ackerman is told about the true history of his bloodline. Then, after trying to kill Uri Reis, Kenny and the new monarch of Eldia become friends. Around that time, Kenny also discovered that his little sister is working in a brothel. Going there, he found her dead. He then decides to raise her son, Levi, for an unspecified amount of time before leaving him. On October 12, year 831, Derek Reis is born to Rod Reis and his wife inside Wall Sina. Back on Marley, between the years of 830 and 832, the Marley government starts to show interest in a specific natural resource that can be found in Paradis Island. I will probably make a video about that substance and why it is so important to the story. In order to conquer the island without provoking King Fritz, the Marley government decides to train specifically selected Eldian kids to make use of the 7 titans that Marley possessed. Hearing that, Grisha Jaeger enrolls his son, Zeke, to the warrior program while he is around the age of 5. On year 832, Zeke Jaeger turns against his parents and gives them up to the Marley public security authorities, for a reason we will not mention in this video to avoid spoilers. Then, all the Eldian restorationists are sent to Paradis to become mindless titans, all but Grisha, who is saved in the last minute by the owl, Eren Kruger. On that year, 832, Kruger tells Grisha of his past, the nature of the Titan's power, and also about the curse of Ymir. He also tells him that he remembers him as a child and that the hate he saw in his eyes was able to burn the entire world. He then continues to explain that there is no simple truth to this world and that in order for something to be real, all you need is people that will believe in it and keep it alive throughout the years. He also tells Grisha that because of the curse of Ymir, he will have to give the power of the Titan to him because of his own 13 years are coming to an end. He continues to explain that every Titan has a name, and his Titan is called the Attack Titan, and that no matter in what time period this Titan lived, he always moved forward, seeking freedom. Just a little fun fact. Attack Titan in Japanese is actually Shingeki no Kyojin, which is also the name of the show, Attack on Titan. Now, whether it's a translation error or some sort of hint, we still don't know. Now, Grisha reluctantly inherits the power of the Attack Titan from Kruger, and he makes his way to the walls. He was only discovered some time after, wandering outside Shiganshina district. And that concludes this video of the life of Kruger and the events that took place while he was alive. I hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed making it, and please tell me your opinion. What do you like and what you didn't like? I would really love to get feedback so I would know what content you most like. Please consider subscribing in order for me to grow and provide you with more content. Thank you so much for being with me today, and remember to dedicate your hearts for humanity, inside and outside the walls.